Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Urban. I hope you're all doing okay, and today I want to show you a technique that I've been playing around with for hair retouching. These are some examples of photographs I've used this technique on. In this video I'm gonna go a little bit fast. The technique itself, it's very simple, but there's a lot of fine refinement that you can do that can take up a lot of time. So I wouldn't recommend this technique for every photograph, or at least not try to make it look super realistic on every photograph, but I definitely think that this is a very interesting technique and something that would look nice on some portraits, especially if you're trying to do something more artistic or like a fantasy type of thing. I think this would look nice. So let's go ahead and get started, and the first thing that I like to do is create a duplicate of my background layer. So I just select it and press Command J. So I have a new layer, and this is where I'll be working. Just in case I want to get some things from the original photographs, I'll have it here in the background layer. So let's select the new layer, and the first thing I'll do is I'll take the spot healing brush and I'll go ahead and try to get rid of some of the stray hairs around outside the hair and inside the face. It doesn't even have to look very natural when it comes to the edge of the hair, because we're still gonna add some shape to the hair, and this the hair is gonna actually extend out a little bit, so it doesn't really matter much. I just want to not have to deal with this at the end. Okay, so now that we're done with that, we're gonna jump right into what the technique actually is, and that is to use the mixer brush tool. So it's right here under the sub menu of the brush tool. So the mixer brush tool, as you can see, is the one with the brush and a water drop at the top left corner. So with this, what we're gonna do is we're actually going to smudge the hair, and to do that, to make it look natural, we're gonna use a brush that is meant for hair. I'm gonna leave a link in the description so you can download these brushes that I'm using right here. So the one that I'll be using is the hair base, and with the mixer brush, so this is not gonna be a tutorial of the brush itself. There's actually quite a lot of different things that you can do with this, but for now I just want to talk about how to use it for this technique. So let me just quickly go over the settings right here. So on the wetness, I try to keep it high, and that's the thing that's gonna smudge the pixels of the photograph. So with this, it's kind of like the percentage of how much you actually want to pull the colors from the photograph, and the load right here is for adding a color. So if you can see this right here, you can actually add color as you're painting. So if you want to add some red or some blue into the hair or whatever you're painting with this, you can add that color. For this technique, I've found that it's better to just work with a clear, just a transparent color. So as you can see here, I don't even have a color selected, and on the load I have it at 1%. For the mix, I have it at 0%, and the flow, I have it at 100. Now if you want to go kind of like more subtle and have a little bit more control, you can reduce the wetness and the flow a little bit, and that's gonna make it more subtle. But the way that I do it is I actually smudge the hair as much as possible, and then I go ahead and add a new layer and add some hair strands on top of that. So I don't actually mind that I have everything smudged together. I actually kind of want that. But in case that you don't want that, you can reduce the flow and the wetness just a little bit, and you can just have something that's a little bit more subtle. And lastly, I have here the smoothing properties, or the settings. I have it on, and I have it on 30%. So you can see here, here's the different types of smoothing options. I just leave it on stroke catch up and 30%. So that's what I'm gonna be working on. And then one last thing, one very important thing that I almost forgot to mention, is that you want to activate this button right here. This is gonna clean the brush after every stroke that you make. This is very important because if you don't do that, you can end up mixing up all the colors all around the place in the hair, and it's a lot more complicated to work with. So just activate this and you don't have to worry about that. Every time you press on the screen, it's gonna take new colors and new pixels, and it's just gonna smudge that. So we're gonna work with that. And now here we can take a medium-sized brush, doesn't have to be too big, and what we want to do is just go over the hair in the direction of the hair. You don't have to go fast over the hair, go slow and follow as much as you can the direction of the hair. Like I said, on this part it doesn't really have to be perfect, we are still gonna add some hairs to make it look more realistic. Here what we're doing is we're getting rid of all the tangled hairs. That's basically the point of this first step, is we want to get rid of the tangled hairs. So as you can see there, I kind of went a little bit in this direction, so not exactly in the direction of the hair. I would suggest that you undo it and redo the stroke so that you can be more consistent and it doesn't give you more trouble later on. So whenever you kind of go a little bit out of the way of the hair, just undo it and try to fix it. So now I'm gonna take a smaller brush and I'm gonna zoom into right here, and I'm gonna go over this part right here. It can get tricky in some parts, and especially here at the end, you can start smudging a little bit the colors from the background. Don't worry too much about that because, like I said, later on, the way I do it is I add another layer and then I add some hair strands, especially at the end, at the edges, because it's gonna make it look a little bit more natural. Also here, wherever you encounter like the hairs where they're kind of overlapping, what I would do is kind of try to go over, follow the direction of the hair that's at the bottom first, and then follow the direction of the hair on top. And that's gonna give you a little bit more of natural results, and it's gonna make the hair look like it's overlapping each other. I'm trying to go in both directions, so I press at the top and go down, and then I let go, then I press at the bottom and go up. Let's take a quick look at the before and after. So let's jump over here. I haven't worked on this part over here, and I'm gonna work with a medium-sized brush again, and I'm gonna try to follow the direction of the hair. So I'm kind of liking this part right here. There's still some parts that I would go over more. Let me undo this. But for the most part, I think it's looking good. And once again, if you're gonna do this technique, I would say spend a little bit more time trying to get it right. But now I'm gonna move into the next step. I'm gonna leave this part like this so that we can see a little bit of the difference that it makes. So you can see here the before and after. So we got that kind of flowy look going already. Here we have a little bit of a spike, so I could go with this brush again, kind of like a little bit smaller, and just try to fix the shape of that. But once again, I'm also gonna go over the regular brush so I can still add it. And here, going into the face, we can actually go from the top down so that we can get the hairs looking more natural here at this part. Then when you go up, you start taking the color from here to the top, but we take the color of the hair and bring it down, it can look a little bit more natural. So just keep those things in mind. Try to see how the hair works. I'm gonna add a new layer on top of this. and I'm gonna take the regular brush. Now here I'm still gonna work with the same brush, the hair base, but it's regular, so we're not gonna smudge anything anymore. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be taking colors from her hair. So if we hold Alt on the keyboard, we can get the color picker and we can just select colors from her hair. So especially here at the edges, here's where we can start adding some hair, and we can add some stray hairs to make it look more natural. I just wanted to remove them at the beginning just so that I don't have to worry about the shape of the edges of the hair. Keep taking new colors so that I can start mixing it. I'm gonna take some highlights as well. So once again, let's take a quick look at the before and after. So as you can see, it's starting to look a lot more smooth, and it's just like a very silky smooth look that we get from this. Once again, this might not be a technique that you want to add to every photograph, but it can have a very cool effect on some of the photographs that you do, especially more creative stuff. So I'm just gonna zoom in here a little bit more. You can see here I have some parts that I can still retouch a little bit. I'm gonna leave that for now. But in order to take it even more natural, what we can do is we can actually just take a regular round brush. It can be a hard round brush, or it can be anything. It can be like 60%. On the sides, we're gonna bring it down. I kind of want to work with just like a 1 pixel. Like 3 pixels will be right. And now from here we can keep adding more hairs. So just kind of go back and forth between just a regular round brush at a small size, just like a 1 pixel brush, and then also the hair base brush, which you can download. So you can start mixing in kind of like more of a hair texture into it. Especially here at the edges, you can still add some of those like stray hairs to make it look more natural. But at the beginning, we try to get rid of these so that we can get the hairs with the direction of the hair, not like this where they're kind of sticking out. So like I said at the beginning, with being more thorough with the retouching or removing the hair, I would actually remove these and then just kind of get these hairs right here in the direction that the hair is going, so that we don't just have like a smudged and very soft edge. We get more like this, which actually looks more like hair. You can kind of see the translucency of the hair. You can see the sky shining through the hair, and that's kind of the effect that we can create through that. So once again, let's just take a quick step back and let's do a before and after. So there you have it. That's all that you need to know about this technique. You just have to spend more time refining the little details and you'll be able to get some really good results. Like I said, this is not the technique that you will want to use on all your portraits, but if you're trying to do something more like fantasy stuff, or just something where you want to have kind of like that silky smooth hair, this is a good technique to know. So once again, if you want to use these brushes that I used here, you can download them on the link below, and go ahead and leave a comment and a like if you like this technique, and subscribe if you haven't. So that's all. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.